cheers, man.
Cheers, brother.
Thank you for coming in today. Appreciate it.
Pleasure to be here.
Today we got Taffy Glass in the house. His birth name is Nikolai Morse, if you want to go look him up. But thanks for coming in today, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. We big fan of your rollers. They look like they're, some of the best on the market.
Thank you. They're useful.
So why don't we start with how did you get into glass? Because I'd love to hear that story.
Well, I was kind of aimless in college. I went to school in California, Fresno State actually, and I was actually in a painting class, and I was thinking about becoming a painting major, and I was really fed up with knowing when the painting was finished. You know what I mean? Like it was, I'd work on it for 30 hours, 40 hours, and then I'd see all the things I wanted to do differently as I was going. And it was a mind fuck.
Yeah.
Trying to think about becoming a professional artist and in that practice was daunting. And I was complaining audibly to somebody next to me, and it was this older lady. She's like, "Oh, well, you should try glass blowing. It's really immediate. You might like it." So I was like, okay, I didn't know we had a glass program. So I went and took the basic class. And
was it like furnace glass?
It was furnace glass, hot shop. Yeah. And it was an old ceramic teacher that created the program. And he wasn't really skilled as a glass artist. He just loved glass and loved the whole studio art movement. So we go in day one, we get the safety rundown, and we all get in line and we start taking our gathers. And I'm like, my turn, I come up and I dip in there and I take my first gather. And this stuff's, if you haven't gathered it, it's like honey on a warm day, it's like
liquid,
spindle it up, and I come out and I'm like, whoa, I'm like surfing with it. And somebody behind me goes, "You look like you're supposed to be doing this." And the person behind them was like, "Yeah, you do," and I was like, okay.
Whoa.
It was just a sign. As soon as I touched it, I was like, I want to play with this, and
that's awesome.
And once I realized how hard it was and how rewarding it was and how immediate it was, you can finish a piece and put it away, and the next day you get it back. And I've done a lot of ceramics. I've done a lot of different mediums, where you have to let it dry and then bake it and then glaze it and then bake it again. It's such a long process. So for that short attention span, especially when I was younger, it hooked me.
That's cool.
Hooked me hard.
I love that aspect about glass as well. Mm-hmm. So what kind of stuff were you painting? Just was it landscapes or
portraits, landscapes.
Portraits?
I was learning, how to do everything.
Okay.
And, I didn't make it very far into that program. I switched to sculpture and glass.
I know what you mean though. Like a painting, it could be never ending. Some people work on paintings for years and years, and it's quite the process.
Yeah.
So you were in Fresno, you took the glass program, and that was soft glass. When did you start getting into Boro?
Much later, actually. When I finished that degree, I went to Cal State Fullerton in Southern California, and I got a master's degree in glass in the hot shop.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Studied with Joe Cariotti, Nanda Soderberg, a few other teachers there. While I was there, a friend of mine who was a pipe maker was like, "Yo, you should pull tubing. You should do a furnace tubing. You have that skill set,
Oh, yeah.
There's a huge hole in the market." And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, "I'm telling you should do it, man. Just think about it." So I went to the DFO back when it was at Cornerstone in Eugene, and this must have been like 2011, while I was in grad school, and I was like just floored by what I was seeing. You know what I mean? It felt like
that was a cool spot.
It was, and back then when it was like really, like everyone was pushing the limits, and and I went.
I worked there for a bit too, in 2013.
It was rad, but it felt like I walked into the edge of the glass world. You know what I mean? Like the boundary, I was like, dink, like I hit my head on this glass barrier, and I was like, oh, here's the edge, this is where y'all are hanging out. Cool. I want to get behind this and push. And I saw Marcel.
What a great transition, though, the pulling tubes from soft glass to kind of transition.
It really taught me a lot about Boro and how it sets up and how it wants to move and stuff. And I worked at that DFO. I got to go up and work with Marcel and crew out of the glory hole. And that thing is like
Veneta? Veneta, Oregon?
No, this was at DFO. They brought all their stuff there. And I just got to go and try it out, cool. And just do a couple turns. And I did miserably. But I learned a lot. And afterwards, I went up to him and was like, how can I do this? And he's like, well, you can come, assist me, volunteer your time and get some exercise in. And that's when I decided to go home and, do what my friend said, start pulling tubing.
That's cool.
So we did. And And then I slowly got on the torch. And then when I finished grad school, it was like, okay, how the hell am I going to make, how am I going to have a professional practice where I have to pay $600 a day to rent time and hire an assistant to make work that's, you know, pushing what I want to push. And
for the hot shop, you mean?
For the hot shop, yeah. So Boro was like, okay, this is a much, you know, more approachable thing. And it's also like, you know, hot shop soft glass has been around for so long, whereas Boro is relatively new, and especially as an artistic medium. So having that, like, you know, that feeling like there's so much to explore, really pulled me hard. And I was like, okay, no more soft glass, pretty much. And I still do it. I kind of go back and forth.
So you were doing Boro without a torch when you first started, just with furnaces. That's cool. Yeah. What kind of colors were you making?
I mean, I wasn't making any color myself.
Nope, but you were buying bulk and like
I was buying scraps from Troutman and North Star, and
cool.
You know, my first stuff was like experimental green.
Oh, nice.
Over Star White, under Cymax. I did Cymax encased Star White, Cymax encased Jet Black. I was trying to like save people time. The whole sleeving process.
How many pounds were you like melting down at a time?
I mean, I had 40-pound pots to begin with, and I had three kilns. And I eventually got to, you know, 4 or 5 furnaces going with 80-pound pots. So I was doing, you know, 250 pounds a week or something at my max.
And you had like people helping you do that?
Yeah, I had my buddy help me for a long time in the beginning, and then when I moved my shop, I hired an assistant full time that helped me do that. And melting is really the trick. I'm pretty comfortable with pulling, you know, and working with globs of glass in the furnace, but melting good Boro and making it all like homogeneous. Top to bottom.
So that's a whole process itself. So different really colors, tricky. You have to do different temperatures or different.
Like Star White formula. Is one. I don't know if it has tin or something in it that just has to be cooked lower or it'll cook out.
Oh, really?
Or boil. So there's a lot to know, and there's really not a lot of information out there.
It's like relatively
super esoteric. And the people that do know don't typically share. You
know. Like when you're melting the glass in that process, like some colors will have bubbles in them, right? And then how do you get rid of those? Just cook it longer and the bubbles rise to the top and you typically scrape it off like a Boro or a soft glass furnace?
Well, part of the problem is like the minerals will start to separate. The oxides will kind of come to usually they'll go up. Sometimes they'll go down depending on how heavy they are.
Change the color?
It will, and it'll make, you know, different layers of the pot.
Different colors.
Yeah. And so you have to mix the glass a lot. Like you go and you let it cook for a while and cook some of the air out, and you scrape the surface and you have to stir it and fold it. I'll take like a piece of angle iron and I'll push the top layer down to the bottom and kind of tumble.
Oh, mix it up.
I'm pushing big bubbles down at the bottom, and they come up and they'll take out little bubbles on the way. But basically you cook it long enough to be air free, and you've cooked out some of the fluxes and you're growing chords in the glass.
Yeah.
It won't be nice, clean glass.
No.
So it's either like you're going to have bubbles or you're going to have chords.
Okay.
And there are ways to get around that. There are ways to find the glass out faster. But
it's like a sweet spot when you want to pull it.
Right. There is. And it's tricky to know what that is. And every color is different, you know.
And what is the chords? Like I know what they are in glass, like the chords that kind of optically you can see in there. But why does that happen?
I mean, I'm no chemist, but the fluxes that make the glass soft, you know, we dial in the fluxes. Like lead was one of the fluxes that made soft glass soft.
Oh, okay.
And so the longer you cook any glass, the more of those fluxes will cook out, and glass will start to crystallize. You know, get these pockets of crystallization. And that's like that really hard stringer of glass that's going up the side of your tube.
So it's actually harder, like.
And it doesn't melt away. It doesn't work away like you want it to. You know, it's like an instant second quality tube.
Yeah, I noticed it more with soft glass when I was blowing, and something big and clear. You could see like the chords in it.
I mean, melting any glass and making it all smooth and homogeneous, and you know, using it while it's ready is a trick.
Yeah.
You know.
Interesting. Very interesting. So you're also into plasma a little bit, you were saying.
Yeah.
So can you explain to us what that is exactly?
I'll try. Okay. I'm still pretty rudimentary at it.
I'm sure everyone's seen it at the store, like those novelty stores where you go and you touch the ball.
Yeah, like Spencer's Gifts of the balls.
And you touch it and the lightning bolts go to your fingers. But
yeah.
So any hollow vessel you can put plasma in, and then you charge it somehow.
Yeah, so you hook up, it's a lot like pumping a neon sign, which you have a manifold where you hook up a tube to the piece, you heat it up to 800 degrees or around there. It vaporizes the moisture inside, kind of burns off all the contaminants, and then you turn your vacuum on, very high-powered vacuum, and you suck all of the molecules out, all the moisture. Once it's like the vacuum of space, and you've cooled it down to about room temperature, you can backfill it with any noble gas.
So how do you seal it after you vacuum it? Is there like just a valve or something?
So you have typically like a tip-off point, which is a really small tubulation.
Yeah.
And at room temperature, you have to carefully, and it's so much suction that it wants to just suck and then pull up in there, and
so
it becomes really delicate.
Hit the point.
Yeah, so you kind of feather it and you get around it, and usually it's a double-ended torch. And incorporating that tip-off into the design so you don't have those little nipples sticking off in some dangerous place where it could get broken and leak all the gas. That's like half the struggle with making these things.
So after you vacuum pull it, you let it cool, then you pump the gas and then you seal it?
Yes.
Okay, so how do you get it from vacuum to cool? Like, is it just...
You just turn the kiln off and let it come down.
And you're still running the vacuum the whole time?
Still running the vacuum the whole time as it's cooling down.
So that's quite a long... probably takes...
Yeah, it takes
hours
or 4 hours or something to get up and all the way down to room temperature.
You got the vacuum. What kind of vacuum do you use?
I don't know. I've had the pleasure of working with a bunch. No, it's like a much more powerful vacuum.
Interesting. System. You got to leave it on for 4 hours.
Yeah, I mean,
it's cold.
Some of them you have to bolt into the ground because if they came apart, they would shred a whole room. You know what I mean? There's just super powerful vacuums.
Oh wow!
And getting them down to into the negative torr range. I'm just a glass blower, and I've had the chance to work with a lot of people that do this. It's another really esoteric thing, but it's fucking cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And
we were talking earlier how I guess it was discovered in the mid 1800s or something. You looked it up.
Yeah, around 1900, around there.
And it must have been a happy accident because really its only use is for visual signage or art, really. Because is there any scientific use?
I'm sure there are plenty that I'm not thinking of.
We're not scientists.
Yeah, there's got to be some kind of spectrometer thing going on. I'm not exactly sure.
Well, let's try and get into the scientist mode here.
All right.
What do you say?
That sounds good to me.
So is there some risks involved with besides the vacuum blowing up? Is there any other safety risks when using plasma?
I mean, the thing that's powering it when you're running them is basically a mini Tesla coil. So it's introducing a high frequency alternating current into the gas that's trapped inside of this vacuum, and that phase changes the gas to plasma to give the electricity somewhere to go. So these, if I had a stainless steel ring and I touched one of these things and it was turned up, it could actually arc through the glass, and it's such a high frequency that instead of giving you a wow, it's like a needle, and it'll pop a hole in the glass and burn a little hole into your skin.
Whoa, has that ever happened?
It'll leak the gas out. I've never had it happen to me, but I've seen it happen. It's kind of rare, but it's just tricky to how do you show these things? Are they supposed to be handled? How do you put them in people's homes with these drivers that are, can eat themselves and turn on fire, and catch on fire? It's a really tricky thing.
Can you turn these coils up and you get more action inside of it?
Yeah, more juice. And the volume, the fill pressure, the type of gas you use, everything. There's so many variables to it.
So is plasma a type of gas?
Plasma is a state of matter. So it's solid, liquid, solid, gas, plasma.
Oh, really?
And plasma is trippy because it has some of the, it's more it's like a liquid suspended in air kind of, and it's magnetic, and it's power can go through it. When you see lightning cut through the atmosphere, it's cutting through the noble gases in the atmosphere, and the reason that it's blue or purple is because it's moving through the oxygen and the nitrogen in the atmosphere. And it's such a big charge that it can push through all the other molecules that are out there that are impeding it. Whereas in this contained space we have, we're removing the other molecules so that it can just, it wants to take that power and give it away. And when you touch it, you're grounding it, into the ground. And there's something that's even though it's kind of like a tchotchke Spencer's gift thing, there's something that's anti-existentialist about it. You know what I mean?
You remember you're grounded.
Yeah, you're I'm an energetic being. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm grounded into the earth. It's something makes me feel more real when I mess with these things.
That is cool. So plasma is just this. So any gas could be in a plasma state. Is that kind of, or like, because plasma is not neon, right? Or
Neon is a noble gas that can convert into plasma. Neon signs, you're seeing, basically the gas phase change into plasma. And as far as I know, only noble gases will do that.
well, this is quite an interesting episode we're having here, dude. We're like scientists. Okay. Well, let's see here. I didn't really do too. Let's talk about science in class.
Let's keep going on that.
But you were telling me the other day how, and they're always coming up with new things with glass. It's such a new thing. You were saying, like borosilicate, especially too. Like Pyrex was invented, in Corning, whenever 30s or something. But you were mentioning how they've made like a metal glass now, right? Or they you showed me a video of like a glass marble and then one of these other glass marbles bouncing, and they just bounce forever.
Yeah,
right?
it's like a vertical pendulum. There's so much stored elastic energy because it's such a hard material. It's trippy. Some people at Cal Polytech figured out how to make an alloy between glass and metal, which typically, if you add too much metal, it tries to become crystalline. And glass has an amorphous structure by nature. And if you try to line it up and have like partial crystalline in it, it'll crack. It's like what you see when we work with greens.
Spider webs. It's
like chromium, will crystallize in the glass, and that's what you're seeing is those little spider cracks.
And I've heard you want to keep that at like a lower temperature in the kiln. Like
and work it shorter, keep it 950,
and that keeps the crystals not growing as much. Okay.
Exactly. But so this metal, this bulk metallic glass, that's called. There's a company called Liquid Metal that's using it, trying to come up with commercial uses for it. And I think Apple, it's a penny stock. It's probably like 11 cents per stock. And I own some of it just,
right now.
For the fuck of it. But a couple years ago, Apple bought the rights to use it as the backing of their phone. And for some reason they never did. I don't know if it was, it's a really costly process. It can be injection molded. But basically they are super cooling it as it sets up, and it stops the crystalline process from happening. So it's like, it's an amorphous structure with metals in it, and it's super, super hard. And I
would imagine.
Yeah, brittle. So they made golf clubs out of it and tennis rackets. I think scalpels, of course, warheads. But the golf clubs, I think they stopped making because they would shatter occasionally. But you just get, like an extra 100 yards. Yeah. It was, it's a trippy material. I think it's one of those things that's like, it's so disruptive and so costly for the setup of manufacturing that nobody wants to use it. And also, even if it didn't shatter, you wouldn't want to have something that never broke, planned obsolescence. We want to have things that we got to replace.
I wonder why they're pursuing it. There must be some, maybe for UFOs or something.
Who knows, man?
Our own spaceships that they're building.
I used to keep up with it and really pay attention to what they were trying to do with it. I haven't in a long time, but it's just one of those cool materials. I mean, they say we're living in the glass age.
Do they?
Yeah.
It's also the age
the
of
Bronze
Aquarius
Age, right? Yeah, we made it. So I don't know. It's trippy to think about, like Corning has one of the higher rates or corporate espionage. They're a bigger target for corporate espionage at Corning.
Why is that?
Because it's such a big business, glass, and making these formulas and making Gorilla Glass. I mean, Gorilla Glass was originally invented.
Gorilla Glass? Mm-hmm. What's that?
It's similar to the glass that we have on our phones. It's like really strong, can take a lot of impacts. And I think
so lucite is not. You know what lucite is?
No.
That's what they use in like the spaceship windows, but it's like harder than glass, but I think it's like, I don't even know if it's like a liquid first and then it hardens like at room temperature. I don't know, but lucite. So Gorilla Glass is a glass, but it's not like Boro. It's harder than Boro.
Yes, and it was originally designed for the scanning windows at supermarkets where they're running like cans and stuff over it all day, and it needed to take a lot of abrasion resistance. Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine who's a chemist told me, I don't know how true this is, but you can submerge, I think, any type of glass in, I think it's potassium dichlorinate, and it will replace the sodium molecules in glass, in the structure of glass, with potassium molecules, which is bigger, and it expands and fills the cracks and makes glass harder in general.
No way.
Yeah, and I've been wanting to try that with Boro, like making a pipe that you can chuck across the room. I don't know if that would work or not.
So you
It'd probably
just
still be
soak
brittle.
it in and it just becomes extra hard. Wow, I'm learning so much. Maybe that could be we got to test that because we don't know that yet. But well, that's cool. Yeah, like our buddy Kiva Ford, man, he makes some interesting parts for science out there, like for the CERN particle collider and all sorts of nuclear things. Glass is kind of saving the world.
Yeah, it is.
What is your most interesting fact about glass that you know? Anything? Any mind busters?
The one that kept me up a couple of days, you know, like just like pondering, was I learned that helium, which is one of the noble gases that lights up in glass.
Yep.
Under a vacuum.
Interesting. Also makes you sound like you got kicked in the nuts.
Right. And xenon, for that matter, is another one, the one that turns green. That one is like nitrous. So, but it like times like 40. So it's like way stronger and longer lasting.
So if you did it, you'd sound like a giant, or
I don't know how much it changes your voice. It probably does, but it's like it affects your mind.
Really?
Yeah. But it's super expensive, and the two main places to get it are Russia and Ukraine.
Is that what air conditioning is too? Xenon? Do they used to use xenon for air conditioning?
That's Freon. I think.
Freon.
Yeah, Freon.
Okay. Freon.
But the interesting fact that I learned was that helium is such a small molecule. It's like magnitudes smaller than the other noble gases. It's so small that you can't keep it in Boro for long periods of time. Because it'll seep through the fucking amorphous structure of Boro. But you can keep it in soft glass.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because it's a denser structure.
I don't believe that. Let's look it up. That's all right. That's crazy. I can't believe helium will seep out, but like nitrogen, that's what you could put your tires, and it keeps your tires fuller longer because it doesn't seep out like oxygen.
Yep. And that has a purple color, nitrogen.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Cool. Wow.
And some of them, like neon, I think has two different stages. Like you can power it with a certain frequency and it'll turn red, and you can power it with another frequency and maybe introduce something like mercury and it'll turn blue.
Mercury is another interesting material. I've seen I saw iron, like a big anvil floating in liquid mercury. That's weird.
I love that.
And what's that, like moldavite, for instance? It's only compatible with Boro, but not soft glass.
Moldavite's a trip.
What do you know about moldavite?
Well, I know it's a tektite, so it's glass created in a meteorite impact.
Yeah.
And most of those around the world, are black and not transparent. There's one in
Libya, but it's not compatible with Boro.
No, it's not.
So why is moldavite?
I'm not sure. I mean, where it hit, what materials it kicked up in the atmosphere. It was a meteorite, I think, like 50 million years ago.
40 or something. Yeah, 50, 40,
That hit
Czech Republic.
Well, it hit Germany, and it was now Germany, and it threw up like a slew field of material, like, you know, all the iron and sand, whatever else got impacted into the atmosphere, and the meteorite passing by and impacting made the atmosphere about 4,000 degrees. So it was sintering the glass into sintering sand into glass. So
that's why some
in
of
the
them
atmosphere.
look like directional almost.
Yeah, and they look like liquid drops, just because they rained down glass.
Wow.
And
now it's just been all buried, and it's like pretty much all mined up.
Yeah.
It's been going up in value.
It has.
I put mine in the safe from my little crystal counter. Oh.
I got a piece on me.
Oh, you can. Oh, nice. That's a nice piece.
Yeah, I got that.
I'll show you my collection too. I got some big pieces. I got an angel chime too.
Nice. I've never seen one of those in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are cool. I love that it is compatible.
Some people can't even touch it, dude. Like,
yeah, it's.
What's up? It's vibrating all the time.
I don't know. It's weird stuff.
But why is it compatible with Boro? Like, is that the gods telling me to work with Boro?
It was definitely, what material got hit in that impact. And I think the color has something to do with the radiation that was present in the impact.
The color?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing like that green. I got some other gray stuff that it's called like angel kisses or something. I forget, but It's like a gray moldavite. It looks very similar to it, but I've never tested it with. I'll show you after.
There's a lighter brown, like tan one that's in, I think, South America too.
Yeah, maybe it's tan. Well, it's not tan. It's like dark, but it's like gray. Might be a little tan. A word from our sponsors. Hey, what's up, everybody? Have you ever wanted to make hash at home? Well, Low Temp Industries has got you covered. They sell do-it-yourself rosin kits. They're the one-stop shop for all your home and commercial rosin extraction needs. And I'll tell you, we had one in the shop for about a week, and it is absolutely a good time to squish your own hash and smoke some fresh dabs right off the press. So you don't even have to leave your house to get your own hash. Find them on their website at lowtemp-plates.com or on Instagram at lowtemp.industries. Now back to the show. What is that? I think that's it.
That's cool.
It's kind of gray.
Yeah, I've never seen one this color. I think Columbia Nights is what I was thinking of.
Yeah. Well, interesting. So there's another investment tip. I would buy as much moldavite as you can right now because it's really like 20x since the pandemic.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to make money off of it now.
Why?
Just
having
it back, a couple of years ago. I mean, I probably paid like $100 for this piece, and it's probably worth I don't know how much now.
What, a few hundred?
Yep.
Yeah. No, I looked them all. I weighed all mine, and I looked it up. And I was looking at comparables online, and they were like $1,200. Like those chunks on that piece there would probably be like $1,000 each, like or $800 maybe those ones. But very interesting. Another investment, but it's probably going to keep going up because it's all been lined up.
Yeah.
And then angel chimes are even more money.
It's still out there, but I think they squashed the practice of going and getting it.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I think most of the big chunks are probably, maybe you find one.
Well, the texture
that's not moldavite.
Well, the texture on all these tektites, I think, comes from the acids in soil. Eating at it for for all that time.
Interesting.
That's how glass breaks down.
And then the big ones are worth like 10,000, and the Chinese people, the nice people of that nation, they are ripping it off. Dude. So you can get if you're interested in buying a big one,
beware,
and it's a good deal. Yeah. You should probably check its source.
Beware.
Because it's just like green Boro glass they could put in it, right? In the mold.
Totally.
And how do
they
you
probably
test
don't even
it?
use Boro most of the time.
Oh, really?
You could heat it up and try and stick it to Boro.
And then that'd be the compatibility test. Ruin it.
Yeah.
But how else? Is there any sort of like testing of moldavite that you know of? Moldavite tester?
Yeah, I mean, you can do like this spectrometer testing where you can see what materials are making up that. So you can see if it's glass, you can see what metals are in it.
Oh, interesting.
Color companies can do that too, by the way. Yeah, I think it's like I can't even remember the name of it, but they can
I had like some throwaway glasses that were spectrometers, and then every light would tell me what it's made of. Like I went to like the science museum, and they gave them to you. And
that's cool.
Or like looking at planets and stuff.
Yeah, you can see what materials are there.
Here's a real important question that we got to ask you. If you could smoke a joint with anyone, living or dead, who would it be?
Man.
You could go back in time. You could.
That is a tough one.
No pressure.
I mean, Tesla's up there.
Tesla.
I don't know how much I
was smoking more than pot.
He must have been doing something. He
looked like it in his old age. Like,
yeah, he did.
Like he was smoking meth.
I don't know if I would even be able to have a conversation with him because he's so smart.
So like,
he just
flabbergasted.
He just thinks on a level that I can't even comprehend. You know what I mean? Yeah, I would say probably him. I would really like to meet that dude and just see what he was like. Another guy that came to mind for some reason is Henry Hines, the guy that created the ketchup company.
Oh, interesting.
Dude was kind of eccentric.
Was he?
Big old mustache, and he created, his company had a bunch of different condiments, sauerkraut and all these different things. And that's why it's like Heinz 57. And they were some of the first to use mass-produced jarring glass jars to make hermetically sealed
in the
preserves.
Industrial period.
Yeah, and it was also when the railroads were pretty developed, so he could send salespeople with these little jars, these little testers around, and he would go door to door, and people would order it, Heinz 49, Heinz whatever. So he did really well, and he built his factory was entirely white, and all of his employees got manicures before work every day.
Whoa.
Yeah, so they had just really clean, and he eventually pushed for the food and drug, the Clean Food and Drug Act of like 1906 or something, which eventually led to the FDA being created.
Interesting.
Yeah. And,
wow.
I don't know if this is true, but I heard that he one time sank a shipment on a boat in the harbor of his products to claim the insurance money, and then sent divers down to get the jars because they were hermetically sealed and they were still good.
Wow.
And sold them all.
Dude. Those old ketchup jars are probably worth something.
I'm sure they are. Yeah, I just saw it on a random fucking TV show, and I was just like, "Who the fuck is this guy?"
Henry Heinz. Yeah. Cool.
I like when people utilize
big mustache like this, like Dolly.
Yeah,
his pet anteater.
Big, crazy. Anyway.
Interesting.
I like people that utilize technology in that way. Using hermetically sealed jars and using the railroad system. There was a guy in my grad school who created the Kogi truck. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It's an LA-based food truck. Where they're like Korean Mexican fusion.
Wow.
Really good. So he did his business master's degree program. Where the final thing was to create your own business. So he wrote this Kogi truck plan. And he was one of the first to use Twitter to announce his location to his followers, and it just caught on right in that time. He made $2 million his first year, and then bought 5 trucks and has 2 brick and mortars. And I don't even know what he's up to now, but
wow, you gotta ride those waves, man.
Yeah,
see them before they're coming almost.
Right.
I missed out on Bitcoin, dude. I bought at the very top and then lost it all.
Bummer.
So it's just 75% down. I think it's going back up.
Oh yeah, it should eventually.
Gonna hold on to it now. No point in cashing it out. I don't even know how to cash it out actually. So
I stayed away from that.
Well, what advice do you have for any young glassblowers listening? It's kind of a lull in the market right now. I think that's good in a lot of ways for people just kind of doing whatever is creative for them, not necessarily for the money. But do you have any advice for anybody that's starting out right now?
That's tough to say. I've had a really weird path through the glass world, doing Boro, and I was in school for a long time too. So I didn't really focus on production or sales. I was more focused on materials and tool making. But what's helped me personally is just to follow my curiosity, and really
awesome.
Learn from the glass itself. The glass is teaching you. It has a great memory of everything that's happened to it, and when you do something to it or you lose it, you can kind of backtrack, and see okay, this is the variable, and you are the biggest variable. So minimizing that will make you a better glassblower faster. Wow. And really wrapping your head around what the glass is trying to tell you.
It's like little mini science experiments, and you gotta
It's okay, well, what if I did it this way, and what if I used a different material to flare the foot with, or there's so many variables. So thinking about that helped me to corral Boro after being used to working soft glass, out of the furnace on a bench, and different, Boro has this really high peak of heat and cool and stiffness, and that it's hard to ride that, and when you're more efficient, you've been doing it a while, you can just kind of ride that wave and move the heat down the piece and back. You see lathe workers that are really efficient, just
boy, soft and hard glass is 2 different things.
Yes.
I mean, I know how to blow soft glass, but I didn't do it for years, and someone passed me a goblet ready to go, and it just went, like I thought I could just. You got to spin that shit fast, and it's just two different.
It is moving.
Things. But yeah, I guess there is that working time that you really get.
Yeah, it's like a
get to know
really
that
gradual
time.
hill in soft glass where the hotter you get it, the softer it gets, and the colder it gets, the stiffer it gets. And you just have this time to play with it and learn from it. And I'm happy that I started in the hot shop, but I do think that Boro is better for a professional practice and that there's more.
It's a lot more efficient. I mean, you're married to your furnace, basically.
Yes.
And you are a slave to it.
Yeah.
With a hot shop, unless you have people running it for you. But that was always a turnoff for me too, just to be that committed. Like we're working these 6 months in a row. We're taking this month off.
Yeah, that's you work in shifts. Yeah, and I worked at a shop where it was $100,000 to replace the furnace.
Yeah,
it'd be like 4
so
years.
Expensive too. It's like, how do you make money? Really, gotta
go
right from school to like Chihuly status.
Yeah, and it's tough to do. A lot of the people that are doing well, they're, I don't know,
designers, like
they're the people that are like doing lighting and they're designing and making their own stuff and trying to do it all in one house. That didn't used to happen in Europe. It's very distinctly like there are designers and there are craftsmen, in Italy and a lot of places. And it was only recently that the artists there would start making their own designs more frequently.
So the artist would make the piece, and then the craftsman would like fit it to a lamp shade, or
like the designer would come to them and be like, make this vase, make this lamp shade, and the artist would go and do it until it was right, and then they'd mass produce.
But now it's all done in house.
Well, I think the people that are, it's another, part of glassblowing is you have to wear so many hats, right? So the more that you can, repair your own kilns and do your taxes, all those things.
The better off?
The better off you are, the better you are at marketing. I mean, I'm working right now out of Bear Mountain Studios down there in Colorado Springs. Doing
Evan, he was on the pod.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's a hustler, dude. I don't know how he does it. He's got like a clone that comes on, while he's napping.
I don't know how he does it. He's
two of them.
He's there like 4:30 in the morning, and
that's the
working late.
That's the morning shift, Evan.
Yeah.
And then there's the
he's a machine.
Yeah.
And a really nice guy, but he is a great, like he has a good presence online. He does the podcast himself. He's always pushing his stuff, doing the drops, having the website. Like he just has a good setup, and that's part of.
And it's just one person. I don't believe it.
Yeah, I mean his wife is part of the duo.
Yeah.
I know they do a lot of work to run that business together.
Yeah, he's a great example. I mean, you just gotta work hard, man. Really, you do, and he's a great example of that for sure.
He is.
It's
been good to be around.
So you're there now, and what's your plan? Are you planning on? Oh man, let's put that there. Are you planning on sticking around, or what? Are you going back to Florida? What's your?
I'm going to stick around there for a little bit.
Yeah,
pump out some work with him. Work on these double-walled cups I'm trying to do for the plasma, and eventually start traveling around Colorado a little bit, working with people.
Cool. You're kind of just a traveling nomadic glassblower.
Yeah, I mean,
a little bit right now. That's fun. I mean, that's fun. I would imagine. I got 2 kids. They're 3 and 5, so I got to.
Yeah, I've been exploring pretty hard. Glass and going to where it is and going to where the people are that I can learn from and work with for a long time, and been pretty dedicated to it. And it's definitely like drowned out other factors in my life, relationships, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
while you're in Colorado Springs, you should check out the Manitou Springs. Have you been there? There's like the cave dwellers there.
Yeah. Totally.
But then there's like the 7 different like taps that you can go and just fill up, and they're all these cool like natural springs, and they all taste like totally different.
Mm-hmm. I have had one of them.
Which one?
I can't remember what it was, but I was recently there for Halloween, I think.
Oh, really?
Visiting, yeah, and tried some of the water there.
Yeah, you got to do the whole tour and like try each one. It's like some taste like they're carbonated, some are high in lithium that they give to like the army, like chill them out. Right on. I would imagine.
Yeah. I've been in lithium baths, like hot springs before.
Oh, really?
There's one down by Machu Picchu.
You've been to Machu Picchu?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
The town next to it's called Aguas Calientes, and it's like a lithium spring. I think there are a bunch in the U.S. as well.
Huh.
But they've always been touted as like, the healing place.
Really?
Where you go if you have.
Man, we went to this hot spring and there was like black soot on the bottom and we just rubbed it all over and I felt like it was like all soft afterwards. It was very healing. A lot of gay dudes were coming by and it was a gay hotspot, but which is fine, but we were.
Speaking of dudes in hot tubs, didn't we meet in a hot tub?
We did. We did. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That was at the DFO actually, right? 2019 or 18 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that was cool. I needed that hot tub more than I've ever needed a hot tub in my life. That was like after the DFO. I was like,
your back's killing you.
just this like moment of like depletion. Like even with that last collab I just did, like when it's done, it's this like wave of like this whole, I don't even know what it is, but it's harder to like lift your feet when you're walking. It's just like this whole, it's over.
Yeah.
It's done. This whole buildup, over, done. It's just, it's like this whole like endorphin thing I have. I don't know.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But that was a fun piece too. That was a good time. That's when we first met. Yep. I remember that now.
That hyper focus thing that happens when you're working on a big project like that, and you're like, I feel like a cat with all my whiskers forward, where I'm like, fucking, I'm gonna do this. You know what I mean? And at the end of it, I'm like, whew, like I'm so drained. And, it's
that's a good feeling to get.
It is.
Like a lot of people maybe will never need to be that focused on something, but when none of your bills matter, none of your problems matter, and you're just at that end stage of a piece, it's fun.
It is. I mean,
the times that by like 100 when you're doing like a demo collab in front of everyone. You got to think about it, prep the pieces, because usually when you prep a big piece, you kind of work your way up to that real adrenaline rush. But for that, some collabs like the DFO or that last one, you usually bring all the hard work you put in and just go right to
assembling. Yeah.
High focus.
And that is that moment. It's hard to do it outside of your own shop too.
It's an extra added thing. Got to be super focused.
I had a big enough torch, but I didn't have a big enough kiln to put away my shit. So I had to go to somebody else's shop and finish the hardest part, the scariest part. And that's something that, when you're becoming a glass blower, you have to invest in yourself in that way and give yourself the room to grow into making bigger work and in your place and having your setup. And
dude, our kiln was fucking with us that whole demo. Like if you left, we had to learn how to like bypass all the safety features, because if you hold it open, if it drops 50 degrees, it shuts off.
Ugh.
And then like if there's like a magnetic metal connector, so if it wasn't closed all the way, like even if it was open this much, it needed to like make contact. If that was open, it shut off.
Yeah.
All these things. And then, the guy who created the kiln was there too. He's like, I don't know what's going on, Paragon. Like, so shout out Scott and AIM.
Yeah.
Because that was a struggle.
Yes. It's a nightmare.
But it was fun. It's extra added stress. Well, dude, where can people find your stuff right now? And you got the rollers, the most sickest rollers on the market. I'd recommend everyone to go check those out. We're going to show some B-roll of it, but I'm going to get a pair as well. And can you say how good they are? Or really shows that you come from a soft glass background too, because that's one of the things that is crucial for soft glass, furnace glass.
Working on that level plane, it just makes a lot of sense to me. And the whole draining process of making stuff, I feel like it removes some of the burden, of like holding a piece up and turning it. It's easier on my joints, my shoulders. And I was when I was pulling tubing, I was going through cases of 38x4, as blowpipes, and I'd rip them in half, by hand.
And workout.
Yeah, it is, but it was killing me. So I had a friend of mine make me my first set of rollers, which were gapped, in the middle. I didn't like having the bearings all the way across. A lot of all the ones that were available commercially at the time were straight bearings, which means you have to keep your hand relatively on top.
Yeah.
And you have to go back and forward. Whereas with the gap style roller, I could do what some hot shot people do and crawl, and do backwards crawls and those kinds of things.
I see the value of that now.
And that, being able to heat and shape on a roller is kind of a game changer. Most people just use it to straighten their work, but you can really do a lot. And you can, especially with like the attachments I've been working on, the hooks, the heat shields, the risers, it like lifts it up so that the torch is below it, so you go up to it, and then you can point the torch below after you've built up the heat, and really see that thing cool down and see the flame like giving a contrast, so you can see everything that's happening. Yeah. And then you can paddle and blow and shape and flare on the roller.
Wow.
And you can feel where center is.
Because it's locked in, right? Too, yeah. So you don't have to worry about it. Mm-hmm. Wow.
And you can now, with that thing, it took me a while to figure that out. I've gone through a couple generations now. And the new ones.
Is that the first you've seen it? Or is there like one that was the better one that you're kind of like making better? Or is this the first time you've seen like a locking on a little hand roller?
The second generation, I put a D-ring, which is like a flip up, like a little sailing D-ring of metal. And it was kind of an afterthought. I just wanted something you could hook on there and keep it over a Bunsen, go grab a mouthpiece, come back. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
So you didn't spin it?
Yeah, it didn't spin very well. It had to be set right. It was just, it wasn't thought out fully. Yeah. And I kind of thought about it for a long time and then came up with a hook with a buddy of mine.
And the hook has like a little bearing on the top of it?
Yeah, it's 2 bearings, and it goes from 6 mil to 26 mil.
Wow.
And it's really nice, especially when you're learning how to do a more advanced style crawl or any of those methods. Because the hardest part about learning those is doing the whole motion and keeping it pressed in there without overexerting yourself. You got to figure out how not to like pop out of that saddle. And once you can do that without burning extra and hurting your hand by pushing too hard, you get the right touch.
Boy, having it open and just having that little extra crawl, I can see it because the ones I have go like this, and it's like,
you really got to fucking go for it.
Super soft glass style.
And
that's a nice mixture.
The bearings on the hook, you can just kind of flick it and keep it turning while you're doing something like getting a mouthpiece ready to attach, over a Bunsen. I use it a lot like that.
Wow.
So I feel like there are a lot of things that I still have yet to explore with that, and I'm still trying to figure it out.
More things you could put on that. More.
Yeah, I'm hoping to develop some more accessories, and I'm probably going to be teaming up with another tool maker soon to.
Whoa. There you heard it first, folks.
Yes, sir. I have some ideas I would love to share. Also, separate from the rollers, I'm going to try and push those out in the next year or two.
That seems like a big part of like what you like to do is kind of like design tools, make it easier. Make
the job easier, yeah. I mean, I love the people that can do it the old way, Italian style, and like Ramens and the, Kiva Fords. Like a lot of those guys can just make whatever shape they want freehand. But I found that really hard coming from the hot shop. I'm used to working one-sided and really feeling that glass move that way.
What about the robo arm thing?
In Koala?
Yeah.
I mean, it's useful for like building work and assembling, but it's too. The thing that I don't like about a lathe or an Koala is that I can't react in real time to what's going on. I can't get on that borderline of like, it's not. If you're on a lathe and it's actually condensing, you're like either spinning it out or it's like crumpling in on itself.
Yeah.
You can't like shimmy it, and that's what I'm used to centering as I'm working.
Totally.
In the hot shop. So I just need to have that. And I really like to work on, and I have a couple prototypes of attachments that turn the thing for you with like variable speed controllers. And, you can click a foot pedal and it lifts up the engagement and you can crawl. So I can build up a heat, and as soon as it gets hot, I can take over and, shape it or do whatever I'm going to do.
Like a little motorized spinner. You're going to be adding that to that?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Oh, very cool. Whoa. That's going to be awesome, dude.
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
And it's so like streamlined. It's not like too huge, Like,
yeah.
It's very nice.
And, other people have been coming out with variations of it, the gap style. I'm glad that it's taken off. It's become like kind of a more standard thing.
Yeah.
You see them all, various versions of it around. And, the hook, some people came out with the hook like right away, right when I came out with mine. I was like, okay.
So how can you patent something like that, or is it just
yes
too
and
much
no.
work? Like
yes and no. It's tricky to patent certain things and to give yourself really good protection where someone couldn't get around it. And really, a patent is a license to sue somebody that's copying you. But it doesn't actually like guarantee that you're gonna win or get
It might.
and it's I don't know. Someone could go to China and produce it.
Yeah, you don't have a copyright in China.
Yeah, I couldn't. No copyright that I have in the
it's
U.S.
not really
would
worth
matter.
it, dude.
Exactly. I have gone down that road.
Like Satva versus Lowry.
Yeah.
You know about that copyright
No.
glass where the guy copyrighted glass jellyfish, but then a student ripped him off, and then they like took his copyright away, and they said you can't copyright something so identical to nature. So it's like,
that's a bummer.
He's like, you can't make these.
That's wild.
Yeah, but then they took it away. Yeah. All right, man. Well, you know what? So where can people go buy one of those? Because I recommend one. I mean, they're the best on the market. They're innovative. They're awesome. I can't wait to try it out. I'm buying that one or whatever. Whatever one, you know.
A nice new one for you.
But yeah, where can people find that?
I have a website, taffytubes.com.
Mm-hmm.
There are some floating out there, Lampwork Supply, UST, a couple of places.
Those are some good spots to go, but they can go direct to taffytubes.com.
Yep.
Okay.
Griffin Tools did a lot of work distributing them for me.
Cool. Love Griffin. Yep. He's awesome, Scott.
And so they're out there. Right now, the place that I mainly sell them is my website, taffytubes.com.
Your website? Okay, taffytubes.com. Perfect. Well, we'll check that out. And on Instagram, your Taffy Tubes on?
Taffy Tubes is the what was the color company and what is now the tool making company. Taffy the Gray is where I post my artwork.
Taffy the Gray.
Yeah. And I also have another one I haven't really used much, but it's Cup Wizard. And it's just strictly cups and collaborations.
Cool.
In that sense.
Well, we're going to get down on a pretty cool cup.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe in a couple weeks or so.
Right. Might even be plasma.
Oh, that'll be fun. Yeah. Like a giraffe in a lightning storm. Yeah. Very cool, man.
I want to be a giraffe in a lightning storm. What do they do during lightning storms?
I wonder. They're probably a target, dude, because they're so tall. They probably duck down. Are you supposed to go under trees in a lightning storm or no? No. So I don't know what they do. They are a tree.
Yeah.
They got to just get down, ground themselves. Yeah, they probably know how to ground themselves.
Probably.
Cool. Well, on that note, thanks for coming in, dude.
Thanks
Appreciate it. We'll show you guys our collab coming up here soon, but we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Thank you, dude.
See you guys.